let's go to someone who, like you, has been listening in, Brynne Sinclair-Waters. She's a mom renting in Toronto, and like a lot of Canadians, hoping to be able to buy her first home, and has been listening probably not only today, Brynne, but through the past couple of weeks to see if there are things there that could help you and your family. Tell me what your situation is now. You're renting now in Toronto, which from what I understand is not a great place to be renting, but tell me a little bit about what's going on for you.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So I have an 11-month-old baby, and a huge priority for my partner and I and our family is to have an affordable, secure place to live. And right now as renters, we don't feel secure. We worry. The lack of rent control means rents just keep going up and up and up. And we worry that if our landlord sells, we may have to move. This happened to us 2 years ago. We had been in our place for 7 years. Then we had to move when the house was being sold. We were able to find a place in the same neighborhood, but our rent almost doubled. And now if we look at the same units that we're living in now, in just 2 years, rents are already up 20 to 30% for the same unit that we're living in. So for us, it's great to hear the government talk so much about tenant protections in the last couple of weeks, but I think I've been renting now, I'm in my 30s for like around 15 years, and things just keep getting worse. So we really need to see some bold action now. So that's what I'm looking for in this budget is some action on investments in public housing and doing something about the lack of rent control in our communities as well.
What about buying a house? Because there's lots of measures that have been announced over the past little while for that too. Is there anything there that you could see that would make it maybe more possible for you?
I think, so first of all, I wanted to say that right now for us, without rent controls in place, without access to public housing, because there's just too little of it, buying and home ownership really does feel like the only path to housing security. But it shouldn't be the only path. Like, I think in some ways my partner and I would be so happy to be renters if we felt secure in renting, if it was affordable to rent in this city. But yes, there are measures targeted at first-time homebuyers, which we do, because of the context, spend a lot of time thinking about what it would take to buy. Yeah. It's discouraging because to this point we can't afford it. And I think when I see these measures, unfortunately, it seems to me that most of it is setting me up to extend myself further to buy my first home. And I don't see that as a path to housing security either. And so I think it really does come back to like what I'd really want to see is this government invest money in public housing, because I also see a lot of money going to developers too in the way that we're incentivizing housing to get built. So that's the situation that we're in right now. We actually have a lot of housing being built, which is great. But I don't think it's necessarily going to end up being affordable. And a lot of it might be investor owned, which is tricky because for someone like me, housing is not an investment, right? And that's for most people. It's not an investment, it's a place to live.
Yeah, I think just thinking through the things that we've heard over the past number of weeks, the public lands thing might be an option because then you're leasing lands to developers, but there will be conditions around what you can build there. So you could see how maybe that falls into the kind of thing that you're looking for. But I did want to touch on one more thing with you before I let you go, and that's that you don't have a $10 a day spot for your kid either, for your 11-month-old.
And that's a key issue. And just to go back on the public lands piece, and I think the federal government does have a role in leadership, like you pointed out, right? It's like in the past, in the 70s, they actually put pressure on the provinces to bring in rent regulation. It would be great if there was funding and land use that they would say, like, if we're gonna use public lands, then there's got to be affordable units on those lands. And childcare, huge issue. Like, we're on 14 wait lists right now, and we don't have a space yet. I will say though, the fee reductions we've seen because of the investment that the federal government's making in childcare is massive in terms of affordability. But now what we need is spaces. We need to see that collaboration with the federal government to make sure that there's spaces in my community so that we don't have to be stressed right down to the wire and calling, constantly checking in just to get that spot. And to me, I think that means a lot of investments also in like the workers who are doing that work too, so that they can see a good job, because those are my neighbors too, right? It's like people who can't afford to live are also the people who are taking care of my kids and need a good wage to be able to stay in that profession.
Yeah.
So,
and some of that too was announced, but we'll see. It takes some time to get all these things in place, and you know, you need that space now rather than a year from now. So, Brynne Sinclair-Waters, thank you. You're the perfect person to talk to. Lots of smart thoughts there. Thank you so much.
thanks, Rosie. It's great to be here.
Nice to meet you. Appreciate it very much.